Chosen one. This message is presented to you not as coincidence or chance, but as a moment that requires calm attention and careful understanding. What you are hearing is not framed as urgency meant to induce fear, nor as a promise designed to excite emotion. Instead, it reflects a broader idea that has appeared across belief systems, psychology, and human experience, that periods of prolonged endurance are often followed by moments of decision that carry lasting consequences. For a long time, your life may have felt defined by waiting. Waiting for clarity, for recognition, for movement, or for relief. That waiting was not empty time. It was a phase in which pressure accumulated quietly, shaping how you think, how you respond, and how you evaluate what truly matters. Many people interpret prolonged difficulty as abandonment or failure. However, when examined closely, these periods often function as preparation rather than punishment. The central idea presented here is not that an external force is rushing you, but that circumstances have aligned in a way that now requires conscious engagement. Opportunities, whether spiritual, personal, or practical, rarely announce themselves dramatically. More often, they appear when an individual has reached a point of internal readiness, even if that readiness is not immediately recognized. You may notice that recent events, thoughts, or realizations feel connected. Patterns that once seemed random now appear related. This does not mean that everything is suddenly perfect or resolved. It means your awareness has shifted. Awareness is often the first sign that a transition is approaching. Before change becomes visible, it is usually felt internally as restlessness, heightened perception, or dissatisfaction with old routines. It is important to clarify what is meant by a final offer in this context. This does not imply a literal expiration enforced by fear. Rather, it reflects the reality that certain windows of opportunity exist only when specific conditions are met. Once those conditions change, the same opportunity may no longer be accessible in the same form. Timing matters, not because of punishment, but because circumstances evolve. Many people miss such moments not because they are unworthy, but because they are unprepared or distracted. Distraction is one of the most common reasons potential goes unrealized. Comfort, familiarity, and fear often keep individuals anchored to situations they have outgrown. When this happens, growth feels threatening instead of necessary. What distinguishes those who move forward from those who remain stuck is not talent or luck, but response. Response determines direction. At certain points, continued waiting no longer produces insight. Instead, it reinforces stagnation. Recognizing when waiting has fulfilled its purpose is a critical skill. You have already endured a phase that tested patience and resilience. That endurance matters. It builds discernment, which is the ability to distinguish between impulse and alignment. Without discernment, opportunity becomes noise. With discernment, even subtle openings become clear. The earlier phase of pressure you experienced may have felt confusing or isolating. It may have arrived as discomfort rather than clarity. That is often how internal recalibration begins. When familiar structures no longer satisfy, the mind searches for deeper coherence. This search is not always conscious, but it influences decisions, priorities, and tolerance levels. At this stage, you may notice that certain struggles are losing their intensity. Problems that once dominated your thoughts may feel less powerful, not because they disappeared, but because your perspective has changed. Perspective reduces fear. Reduced fear allows choice. Choice is central here. Not forced choice, but deliberate choice. Choosing to act differently than before. Choosing to trust insight over habit. Choosing to step forward rather than wait for external validation. It is also possible that you feel conflicted. Awareness does not eliminate doubt immediately. In fact, awareness can intensify doubt because it removes excuses. Once you recognize a pattern, you are responsible for how you respond to it. Responsibility can feel heavy, especially when the stakes appear high. However, responsibility is also empowering. It places direction back in your hands. Instead of being shaped entirely by circumstance, you begin shaping your response to circumstance. That shift marks the transition from endurance to agency. The idea that everything you prayed for is ready to manifest should not be interpreted as a promise of instant outcomes. Rather, it suggests that conditions are aligning for movement, provided action follows awareness. Action does not require perfection. It requires intention and consistency. Alignment, in this sense, refers to coherence between thought, intention, and behavior. When these elements conflict, progress stalls. When they align, momentum builds naturally. Alignment does not eliminate challenge, but it makes challenge purposeful rather than chaotic. You may feel that change is approaching faster than expected. This can be unsettling, especially after long periods of stagnation. Sudden movement after stillness often feels overwhelming. That is why preparation matters. Preparation reduces shock and increases adaptability. Old struggles dissolving does not mean life becomes effortless. It means the nature of struggle changes. Instead of repetitive cycles that drain energy, challenges become directional, pushing you toward growth rather than keeping you trapped. Clarity, when it arrives, often does so gradually. It appears as confidence in small decisions before it manifests in larger ones. It shows up as reduced tolerance for misalignment and increased commitment to what feels authentic. This phase demands engagement on multiple levels. Mentally, it requires honest assessment of patterns and beliefs. Emotionally, it requires letting go of attachments that no longer serve your direction. Energetically, it requires consistency, not intensity. Pausing to reflect is part of this process, but pausing indefinitely is not. Reflection must eventually translate into movement. Otherwise, it becomes another form of avoidance. The earlier phase, sometimes referred to as the first offer, was subtle. It may have appeared as internal pressure rather than opportunity. That pressure was easy to dismiss or misunderstand. Many people interpret discomfort as something to escape, rather than something to examine. That earlier phase was not a mistake. It was a filter. It tested whether you could remain steady without immediate reward. It tested whether your motivation was internal or dependent on external affirmation. Those who endured that stage develop resilience that cannot be taught through instruction alone. Resilience built through experience changes how you perceive risk, failure, and uncertainty. Now, the lessons from that phase are integrated, even if you cannot articulate them fully. Integration happens beneath the surface. You may simply notice that you respond differently than you used to. At this point, life may feel unusually sensitive. Small decisions carry noticeable consequences. Emotional reactions feel amplified. This sensitivity is not instability. It is heightened awareness during transition. During such periods, distraction is especially costly. Choices made casually can have lasting effects. This does not mean you must act with fear, but with attention. Attention anchors you in the present, where meaningful decisions occur. Recognition is the first requirement. Recognition that you are no longer in the same phase you were before. Recognition that continued waiting may now be resistance rather than patience. Recognition that growth is asking for participation. Without recognition, nothing changes. Recognition does not require certainty. It requires honesty. As this part concludes, the central point is not urgency, but readiness. Readiness to acknowledge that endurance has served its purpose. Readiness to accept that alignment now requires action. Readiness to move forward without needing every detail resolved in advance. Chosen one, once awareness has been established, The next phase is not defined by dramatic events, but by subtle separation. This is often the most misunderstood stage because it can feel like loss rather than progress. What is actually occurring is a narrowing of alignment. Elements that once fit loosely into your life begin to fall away, not through force, but through incompatibility. At this point, many people become confused. They assume that because certain connections weaken, routines feel uncomfortable, or familiar environments no longer provide reassurance, something has gone wrong. In reality, this discomfort is evidence that internal priorities have shifted. When internal alignment changes, external structures must either adapt or dissolve. Separation does not always mean physical distance. Often, it begins mentally and emotionally. You may notice that conversations you once tolerated now feel draining. Goals that once motivated you feel empty. This is not ingratitude. It is recalibration. Growth changes what you can sustain. During this phase, resistance commonly appears. Resistance shows up as nostalgia, doubt, or a sudden desire to return to what is familiar, even if it was limiting. The mind prefers predictability over possibility. Predictability feels safe, even when it produces dissatisfaction. Possibility requires trust, and trust requires releasing control. What is important to understand is that separation is not punishment. It is refinement. When distractions are removed, clarity has space to emerge. However, clarity does not arrive fully formed. It develops as you engage with what remains after unnecessary elements fall away. You may find yourself spending more time alone, either by choice or circumstance. This is not isolation in a negative sense. It is consolidation. During consolidation, lessons gained from earlier phases are organized internally. This is when values become clearer and boundaries strengthen. Boundaries are essential in this stage. Without them, old patterns attempt to reassert themselves. Boundaries are not walls meant to exclude others harshly. They are guidelines that protect your direction. They help ensure that your energy is invested where it produces growth rather than depletion. Responsibility becomes more pronounced here. Not responsibility in the sense of obligation to others, but responsibility for your own alignment. At this stage, blaming circumstances, timing, or other people becomes less convincing. You begin to see where your choices influence outcomes. This realization can feel heavy. When responsibility increases, excuses lose effectiveness. Yet, this is also where empowerment begins. When you understand that your response shapes your trajectory, you gain agency. Agency transforms uncertainty into possibility. It is common during this phase to experience a heightened awareness of consequences. Decisions feel weightier. Even small choices seem to carry implications. This is not because you are being judged, but because your awareness is sharper. When awareness increases, consequences become visible sooner. Many people misinterpret this sensitivity as anxiety. In reality, it is discernment developing. Discernment allows you to sense alignment before outcomes are obvious. It helps you choose based on coherence rather than impulse. Another key aspect of this phase is the dissolution of false urgency. Earlier, urgency may have felt external, driven by pressure or fear. Now, urgency becomes internal and measured. You understand that while timing matters, panic does not improve outcomes. Calm action does. You may notice that certain opportunities appear unexpectedly, but only after you stop forcing results. This is not coincidence. When you stop acting from desperation, your decisions become clear, and you recognize openings that were previously overlooked. This stage also involves redefining success. Success shifts from external validation to internal consistency. Instead of asking whether others approve, you begin asking whether your actions align with your values. This shift is subtle but transformative. Misalignment becomes harder to tolerate. Situations that once felt manageable now feel unsustainable. This is not because you have become less capable, but because your standards have changed. You no longer want to survive. You want to function with integrity. Integrity, in this context, means coherence between what you know, what you say, and what you do. When these elements align, confidence emerges naturally. Confidence here is not loud or performative. It is steady and grounded thought during this phase. It is tempting to rush ahead mentally, imagining outcomes before foundations are solid. This temptation often leads to frustration. Progress now depends on pacing. Slow, deliberate action produces more stability than sudden leaps. Patience returns, but it is different from before. Earlier patience was endurance without clarity. Now patience is intentional. You wait when waiting supports alignment, and you act when action supports growth. This distinction is critical. You may also encounter tests that resemble past challenges. These are not setbacks. They are confirmations. When similar situations appear and you respond differently, you validate your growth. The test is not about the situation itself, but about your response. It is important not to romanticize this phase. It is not free from difficulty. However, the difficulty now has direction. Instead of feeling lost, you feel challenged with purpose. Purpose gives meaning to effort. As old struggles lose relevance, new responsibilities emerge. These responsibilities often involve stewardship of your time, attention, and energy. How you allocate these resources determines the quality of what you build next. Support systems may also change. Some people will no longer understand your choices. Others may appear unexpectedly. Support is not always comfortable. Sometimes it challenges you to remain accountable. One of the most significant shifts in this phase is trust in internal guidance. You begin relying less on constant reassurance and more on your ability to evaluate alignment. This does not mean ignoring advice, but filtering it through discernment. Fear may still appear, but it no longer dominates decision-making. Fear becomes information rather than instruction. You acknowledge it without allowing it to dictate your direction. As this part concludes, the essential message is this: separation precedes consolidation, and consolidation precedes expansion. You cannot expand while carrying what no longer fits. Release is not loss. It is preparation. The next and final phase will focus on integration and forward movement, how consistency, rather than intensity, determines long-term outcomes, and how the choices made now shape not just immediate results, but sustained direction. Chosen one. The final phase is not marked by sudden celebration or dramatic confirmation. It is quieter than expected, yet far more decisive. This stage is defined by integration, the point at which everything you have endured, recognized, and released begins to operate together as a single direction rather than scattered effort. Many people mistakenly believe the final phase is where struggle ends. In reality, it is where struggle transforms into responsibility. By now, the internal conflict that once dominated your thinking has reduced. Not because every question has been answered, but because you no longer require constant certainty to move forward. You understand that clarity often follows action, not the other way around. This understanding is one of the most important outcomes of your earlier endurance. Integration means that lessons are no longer theoretical. They are applied naturally, without constant effort. You may notice that you respond differently to stress, disappointment, or temptation. Old triggers still exist, but they no longer control your behavior. This is not suppression. It is maturity. At this stage, consistency becomes more valuable than intensity. Intensity creates momentum, but consistency creates stability. Earlier phases required emotional strength to survive pressure. This phase requires discipline to maintain alignment. Discipline here does not mean rigidity. It means reliability showing up for your direction, even when motivation fluctuates. One of the clearest indicators that you have entered this phase is reduced attachment to outcomes. You still care deeply about progress, but you are less dependent on immediate results for validation. This shift frees energy that was previously consumed by anxiety and comparison. When energy is no longer fragmented, it becomes effective. You may notice that time feels different now. Earlier, waiting felt endless. Now, movement feels steady, even if progress is gradual. This is because your internal resistance has decreased. When resistance decreases, effort produces visible results with less friction. Another defining characteristic of this phase is ownership. You no longer view your life as something that happens to you. You recognize patterns, acknowledge your role within them, and adjust accordingly. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means understanding where your influence begins and ends. With ownership comes accountability. Accountability is often misunderstood as pressure, but in reality, it is structure. Structure allows growth to be sustained. Without structure, progress collapses under inconsistency. You begin creating routines, boundaries, and systems that support your direction rather than relying on bursts of motivation. During this phase, you may experience moments of doubt returning unexpectedly. This is normal. Doubt does not disappear permanently. What changes is your relationship with it. Instead of stopping you, doubt becomes a checkpoint. It encourages review, not retreat. You may also find that certain people re-enter your awareness, either physically or mentally. These are not distractions by default. They are mirrors. How you respond to them now reveals how much integration has occurred. Old dynamics lose power when internal alignment is stable. Expansion begins subtly. Opportunities appear more practical than symbolic. Instead of abstract possibilities, you encounter concrete choices: where to invest time, what to build, what to decline. These choices may not look extraordinary from the outside, but they carry long-term impact. This is where many people hesitate. After surviving chaos and navigating separation, stability can feel unfamiliar. Familiar struggle sometimes feels safer than unfamiliar progress. However, growth requires tolerating stability without self-sabotage. Self-sabotage often appears when individuals unconsciously associate struggle with identity. If pain defined earlier phases, peace can feel undeserved. Recognizing this tendency is essential. You do not need to earn stability through suffering. Endurance has already fulfilled its role. Another critical aspect of this phase is stewardship. You are now responsible for what you have gained: clarity, insight, resilience. Stewardship means using these resources wisely. It means not wasting energy on distractions that once seemed unavoidable. You may notice that your tolerance for chaos has significantly decreased. Environments that lack direction or integrity feel uncomfortable. This is not arrogance. It is alignment protecting itself. When alignment is compromised repeatedly, progress erodes. Purpose becomes more grounded here. Instead of searching for meaning, you begin expressing it through action. Purpose stops being a question and starts becoming a practice. This practice may be simple, but it is consistent. Comparison loses relevance during this stage. You understand that your timeline cannot be measured against others. Earlier comparison may have motivated or discouraged you. Now it simply feels irrelevant. Direction matters more than speed. You may also experience a sense of neutrality toward past struggles. They no longer carry emotional charge. This neutrality indicates integration. When experiences are integrated, they inform rather than haunt. The idea of reward changes as well. Reward is no longer imagined as a dramatic breakthrough. It is experienced as stability, clarity, and the ability to make decisions without internal conflict. These rewards are less visible, but far more sustainable. As forward movement continues, challenges will still arise. However, these challenges are proportional to your capacity. They stretch you without overwhelming you. This balance is not accidental. It reflects growth that has been properly integrated. You begin to understand that alignment is not something achieved once and maintained effortlessly. It is an ongoing process of adjustment. When misalignment appears, you correct it early rather than allowing it to compound. This phase also requires humility. Growth does not mean perfection. Mistakes will still occur. What changes is how quickly you recognize and correct them. Pride delays correction. Humility accelerates it. Another important realization is that not everyone will accompany you into this phase. This is not a judgment on others or yourself. People operate at different stages. Releasing the need for shared timing reduces unnecessary conflict. Leadership, whether formal or informal, may emerge here. Leadership does not always mean directing others. Often, it means modeling consistency. People notice stability even when it is not advertised. Your earlier endurance cultivated empathy. Now, that empathy becomes balanced with boundaries. You can understand others without absorbing their chaos. This balance protects your progress while allowing connection. As integration deepens, intuition becomes more reliable. This is not mysticism. It is pattern recognition informed by experience. You have seen enough cycles to anticipate outcomes without needing to test every possibility. The final realization of this phase is simple but profound. Movement continues, but fear no longer defines direction. Fear may still appear, but it no longer controls your choices. Alignment is. This is not the end of your journey. It is the end of a particular cycle. What follows is expansion built on stability rather than urgency. Growth that compounds instead of resets. Chosen one. The endurance you once questioned has done its work. Awareness has matured into responsibility. Responsibility has matured into consistency. Consistency now shapes your future. What you build from here will reflect not just what you desire, but who you have become. Chosen one, this is not a conclusion meant to impress, persuade, or overwhelm you. This is a moment of reflection, quiet, deliberate, and grounded. Everything shared so far was not designed to elevate emotion temporarily, but to help you recognize where you are standing now. Reflection is necessary because without it, even the clearest insight fades into habit. At this stage, the most important question is not what will happen next, but how you will respond to what you already know. Awareness without response eventually becomes regret. Reflection allows you to pause long enough to ensure that understanding translates into direction. You have moved through endurance, separation, and integration. Each phase required something different from you. Endurance asked for patience when clarity was absent. Separation asked for courage when familiarity felt safer than growth. Integration now asks for honesty about your priorities, your boundaries, and your responsibility. Reflection is not about judging the past harshly. It is about seeing it accurately. When you look back, you may notice patterns that once felt confusing now make sense. Certain delays protected you. Certain losses redirected you. Certain frustrations forced you to refine what you truly wanted. Take a moment to consider how your perception has changed. Not your circumstances alone, but your internal reactions. What once triggered anxiety may now feel manageable. What once felt urgent may now feel unnecessary. These shifts are evidence of growth, even if they occur quietly. It is important to reflect on what you are no longer willing to tolerate. Growth is often revealed more clearly through subtraction than addition. What drains you now that once felt normal? What compromises no longer feel acceptable? These questions are not meant to create distance, but alignment. Reflection also involves acknowledging responsibility without self-criticism. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for every outcome. It means recognizing where your choices matter. This recognition restores agency. When you know where your influence lies, you can direct it intentionally. Consider how you use your time. Time reflects priority more honestly than intention. Reflection asks whether your daily actions align with the direction you claim to value. If there is misalignment, awareness gives you the opportunity to adjust without shame. Energy is another area worth examining. Where is your energy consistently invested? Does it build something sustainable, or does it merely manage chaos? Energy spent on constant reaction leaves little room for creation. Reflection helps you reclaim that space. It is also valuable to reflect on your relationship with fear. Fear has likely played a role throughout your journey. Earlier, it may have limited your movement. Now, fear still exists, but it carries less authority. Reflection helps you recognize when fear is informational rather than directive. Think about the moments when you chose differently than you would have in the past. These moments matter more than dramatic breakthroughs. They represent internal alignment becoming external behavior. Growth is rarely loud, but it is consistent. Reflection invites you to notice where you are still holding on to old narratives. Stories about who you are, what you deserve, or what is possible. Some of these narratives served a purpose once. That does not mean they are still accurate. Letting them go creates space for updated understanding. It is also important to reflect on patience. Earlier, patience was endurance. Now, patience is strategy. You wait when waiting supports alignment, and you act when action supports growth. This discernment protects you from impulsive decisions that undermine long-term direction. Consider how you respond to uncertainty now. Uncertainty no longer feels like a threat that must be eliminated immediately. Instead, it becomes part of the process. Reflection helps you trust yourself within uncertainty rather than seeking constant reassurance. You may also reflect on how your definition of success has evolved. Success is no longer measured solely by external outcomes. It includes stability, clarity, and integrity. These forms of success are less visible, but far more durable. Relationships often reveal growth clearly. Reflect on how your boundaries have changed. Are you more selective with your time and attention? Do you communicate more honestly? Do you disengage sooner from patterns that drain you? These are signs of integration. Reflection is also about acknowledging what you have survived. Not to dwell in it, but to honor the resilience it required. Survival without recognition can lead to minimization of growth. Recognition reinforces confidence. It is natural during reflection to notice areas that still need adjustment. Growth does not mean completion. It means progress with awareness. Reflection allows you to identify these areas without discouragement. Another important aspect of reflection is gratitude. Not performative gratitude, but grounded appreciation. Appreciation for clarity gained, lessons learned, and stability built. Gratitude anchors you in the present rather than pulling you backward or forward unnecessarily. As you reflect, resist the urge to rush into the next phase mentally. Expansion will come through consistent action, not anticipation. Reflection helps ensure that movement is grounded rather than reactive. Ask yourself whether your current direction feels sustainable. Sustainability is a strong indicator of alignment. If something requires constant force to maintain, it may need adjustment. Reflection also reinforces humility. Growth does not place you above others. It places you more firmly within yourself. Humility keeps learning active and correction timely. You may notice that reflection brings a sense of calm rather than excitement. This calm is not stagnation. It is stability. Stability allows progress to compound rather than reset. Finally, reflection invites commitment, not dramatic promises, but practical commitment. Commitment to consistency. Commitment to boundaries. Commitment to alignment even when it is inconvenient. Chosen one, this reflection is not meant to conclude your journey, but to ground it. What you do next does not require urgency, fear, or perfection. It requires presence. You are not starting from nothing. You are moving forward from understanding. That difference changes everything.